Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Shannon Show. So I saw Jesse the Reader do this quiz on his YouTube channel, and I figured I would do it too. It is "What are your bookish red flags" from Book Riot, and I've linked both Jesse the Reader's video and the quiz down below in the description. You're gonna watch me take the quiz while I'm also doing it up here, and then if you take the quiz, let me know what your results are down below in the comments. Take quiz. Your current read isn't really working for you. You already DNF'd it. Console yourself by buying a new book. Probably just need to come back to it later. Muddle through it because you're no quitter, or we'll pick it up next time you can't sleep. I am kind of I've been really good about DNFing books lately, and I'm just not gonna make myself muddle through it if I'm not enjoying it. So either I would, depending on the book, either I would probably just need to come back to it later and put it down, which I usually don't do. I usually don't come back to it later, or already DNF'd it. So I'm gonna do that one, already DNF'd it. When do you take your reading breaks? At the end of the chapter, usually when you have fallen asleep reading, whenever you don't feel like reading anymore. You're a finish a book in one sitting kind of person most times, or when the story is starting to get confusing or too heavy. I'm in between at the end of the chapter, the first option, or whenever I don't feel like reading anymore, and those two kind of coincide. So I'm just gonna say whenever I don't feel like reading anymore. Where do you keep your TBR? You don't really have one. By the bed, in a book cart, or designated space on your shelves, amongst all of the books in your e-reader. Mine is kind of amongst all other books, just because it's with some of the other ones, ideally I would have a designated space on my shelves or a book cart, but I don't, and I don't really have a spot by my bed. I did significantly lower the books on my TBR pile, at least on the TBR list that I have in the Storygraph app, but I still have a TBR, and technically I just consider it never ending. But if we're talking just in general, I'm gonna say amongst all of the books, just because I both have books on my Kindle app and books on my physical shelves that are on my TBR, so there's no designated space for it. It is how it is for me. When you visit a bookstore, you make a budget beforehand and stick to it. Always say you're not going to buy anything, but always come out with books. Have no trouble leaving empty-handed. Make a budget and forget about it as soon as you walk in, or spend hours and hours there deciding what to buy. I do pretty much make a budget and stick to it pretty well, mainly because I have a budget and then I have a $25 to $50 window. So basically I have my main budget, let's say $75, and then I'll give myself a little bit of a $25 cushion. So if I spend over $75, then that's okay, but as long as I'm not spending over $100. But usually I can stick to that main initial budget of $75 in this case. I usually don't say I'm not going to buy anything because I know I'm going to come out with books usually if I go in. I wouldn't say that I don't have trouble leaving empty-handed, but I also wouldn't say that I do have trouble with that, mainly because again I know I'm gonna leave with something. Make a budget. I don't really forget about whatever budget I set, and I don't really spend hours and hours because I have in mind what books I want to get. So I guess I'm gonna say make a budget beforehand and stick to it. A friend lends you a book, you return it as soon as you're done with it, start reading it immediately, probably forget to read it for months, somehow manage to wreck it and have to buy your friend a new one, or return it in pristine condition. I feel for me, return it in pristine condition and return it as soon as you're done with it, I feel for me at least, that kind of goes hand in hand, because usually I'm desperately trying to take care of that book that I borrow and making sure nothing happens to it and that no damage gets to it. I wouldn't say that I start reading it immediately, but I do try to start reading it so I can finish it and return it as soon as possible. I don't forget about it. Again, I usually try to return it in the condition it was given to me. Usually that means pristine condition, but I usually try not to return it more damaged than it was if it was damaged or a little bit more worn out. So I'm gonna say return it as soon as I'm done with it. Now it's your turn to lend a book to a friend. You have no trouble lending books, but definitely want them back. Would rather get them a copy of it, then lend your own books. Soon forget all about the book. I wouldn't do that. Keep a list with all the books you've lent and who has them. My grandmother actually does this with books and movies that she's lent. There's a cat on my windowsill. And then the last one is won't rest until you get it back. I'm gonna say the first one, just because it's like I want it back. If I lend it to you, I want my book back. Or at the very least, like, buy me another book or buy me another copy of it. Some of my editions of Lord of the Rings, I'm not going to be lending out because those are like my trophy books. Yeah, more often than not, yeah, I just want the book back. Have you ever bought a book you already owned? No, more times than you care to admit. Yes, but on purpose, different edition, wanted an extra copy, etc. Yes, but you already owned a digital copy of it. You don't think so, but it's plausible you did. Obviously not that one. Sometimes I'm buying a physical book when I already had a digital copy, but usually for me it's the reverse. I buy the digital copy when I already had the physical. As I kind of hinted at, I already have a bunch of editions of Lord of the Rings, a few editions of The Hobbit. I have a couple of editions of The Three Lives of Alex St. Pierre. It was mostly on purpose. I'm gonna say more times than I care to admit, but you know, usually I admit it. Next question. Are you a library user? Yes, you get more books from the library than brand new. Yes, but you buy more often. You buy as much as you borrow from the library. Yes, and you usually bring home a very optimistic amount of books in there. I haven't gone to a physical library in a while, although I really want to, but it's probably still going to be a little bit before I do. But I have been using the Libby app, so I would say that yes, but I buy more often because I do think I buy more than I borrow, usually. Do you have a monthly budget for books? The thing is I wouldn't say, like, I don't have a set monthly budget for books, but whenever I go into, well, I usually go into a bookstore about once a month or once every few months. So in a way, yes, I do have a budget. I'm gonna say sometimes. Your ideal bookish date would be meeting for coffee at a bookshop cafe, bookstore crawl, favorite author event, visit each other's favorite bookshop, and buying a mystery book for each other, bringing your favorite books to a park, exchanging them, and spending the afternoon reading them together. I don't know if I would be like, just because I've never really done them before, but I don't know if I would really do a bookstore crawl date. I might. Ideally, I would like to. I feel like that would be a surefire way for me to overspend on books. Favorite author event. Again, it's possible for me to want to do that, but usually none of the authors that I read and enjoy are having events in my area, surprisingly enough. Meeting for coffee at a bookshop cafe, again, ideally, but again, a chance for me to like spend more money on books. So it's probably the one of the last two, visit each other's favorite bookshop and buying a mystery book for each other. I feel like I would want some context for that one, where it's like, it would be mystery in the sense of what I'm getting for my date, but like I would have some background information, like what their favorite authors are and genres, things like that. Bringing your favorite books to a park, exchanging them. I'm probably gonna go with this one now that I've talked it through, because I love this and I love just going out in nature and the idea of like sitting in a park for a while, reading. Perfect date. Choose a book trope, enemies to lovers, stuck together, there's only one bed, etc. I hate that trope. At least specifically the only one bed trope. Like, that's so stupid. Fake relationship, forbidden love, or soulmates. Fake relationship is so for me. I haven't read enough books to where I feel like I can say that I like it or dislike it. Forbidden love, again, same thing. I think I've maybe read a couple where it was forbidden love, and I have like those books, but again, I haven't really read enough where I can say like, oh, I love this trope or oh, I hate it. Enemies to lovers, I like the idea behind it, but more often than not, it doesn't work for me. So I'm gonna have to say, I'm gonna say soulmates. What do you love the most about books? Getting lost in them for hours on end, talking about them with other people, getting to learn more about the world and other people's experiences through them, the pure joy they bring you, the comfort they give you, especially favorite stories. I would have to say like all of them, but I'm gonna say pure joy. That's kind of funny. I got the same thing as Jesse the Reader, that you DNF like there's no tomorrow, as you should. Life is too short to read books you don't like, so embrace the DNFing soul. I wonder what the other options are. Again, let me know what your results were in the comments below, and thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in my next video.